Hi, this video we are looking at another example for Centroid, and this is web work problem. Um, and In order to solve this problem, we know our way to do that is just going to using this particular formula, right? As you can see from the previous video I made. In order to do that, the same thing applies for y. We just need to figure out how many shapes. So from what I can see here, you have this big rectangle. Then you have this triangle. Then we have another triangle here carved out, another semicircle carved out. So I saw four shapes. You might have a different ways. You might decided to do this big rectangle and then cut out this triangle right here. And then cut out another triangle, cut out another semicircle. So there are many different ways. Um, so you got a choice to do it. And if we are go ahead and decided to, with our original thought, having this big rectangle here, that's our one. Then we're gonna have another our triangle right here. I'm actually gonna go start to put a dimension on there. This is A, this is gonna be C plus D plus H, that's the height. And for this rectangle, it's B, and height is also C plus D plus H, right? Then we're going to minus this small triangle right here. That's going to be called number 3. And this triangle, what is the height? It's D. This is D. But in terms of the base, how do we go ahead and solve that, right? Okay, I'm sure there may be different ways to solve this. The way I see is if I were to look at proportionality, what I plan to do is I will go ahead and take this out, take this big triangle out, and here we do not know that purple line, we do not know that purple line. However, we know this is A, and we know this is H, that's D, and that's C. So I'm going to use proportionality. If I call this if I call this X and I call this Y, so X over this A is going to be this height C over this big triangle height C plus D plus H, right? So what I just did is look at this triangle versus this big triangle together, the proportionality. So if I have X, then I corresponding to A, and a C will corresponding to this height, okay? Then from here, we can calculate our X, which is AC over C plus D plus H. So same thing, we can go ahead and looking at this Y over A. Now we're looking at this triangle compared to this big triangle. This small triangle, the height is going to be C plus D over entire triangle height, C plus D plus H. Then again, we can calculate our Y. It's A times C plus D minus C plus D plus H. So why do we decide to solve X here and Y here? Then because we want to figure out this triangle base. That triangle base should be equal to this Y minus X, right? So we got the dimension for this triangle. Then the next thing is this semicircle. This is semicircle. And this diameter here, it's going to be the same as this, what you just calculated, it's Y minus X. All right, so we know it's radius now because we know the diameter. So we all know the geometry. Now we need to thinking about the x tilde and y tilde, etc. So if I were to go ahead and make my table, that's my rectangle 1 and big triangle 2 minus the small triangle minus the semicircle. Then I just need to figure out x tilde and y tilde. We do know the coordinate because here is our x and here is our y. So we know the coordinate is origin is right there. So every single centroid of each of those four shapes will based on this coordinate which is already drawn. And now I'm going to use blue dot to indicate the centroid of each of those shapes. So this will be right there, and this will be somewhere there, 1/3, and this one will be 1/3. This one will be right there, right? And now we're going to put that into this coordinate here, xy. So that's going to be the rectangle centroid. What's x tilde? That's going to be corresponding to right here, b/2. And y tilde will be that value, will be negative value. That's very important. And how much? It's going to be this entireness, c plus d plus h, then divided by 2, right? Then our triangle, this big triangle, the centroid will be that dot. What will be corresponding x coordinate? That's going to be negative value. Since it's on the negative x-axis, it's going to be negative 1/3 of that a. Then let's look at y-axis. Y-axis will be right here. So reading that, that's also negative. And how much then? Because we know this height right here, that's going to be 1/3 of this entire height. And so this light blue one, which is coordinate you're reading, that's going to be 2/3, okay? 2/3 of this entire height, c plus d plus h. All right. Now let's look at this this rectangle. For this rectangle, the centroid will be around there. We're going to read coordinate. The x coordinate will be around there. And how do we read it? We know here is going to be 1/3 of this length right there. That question mark we calculated earlier. And then you need to add this length also, which is our x you calculated. All right, so here this might be a little bit more complex, so but we can do it. So it's x, this distance plus that 1/3 of this base. 1/3 of that base. That base is basically our question mark, 1 minus x. Okay. That's going to be our coordinate. However, it's at negative axis. Now let's look at the y coordinate. Our y coordinate is going to be reading how far below. So it's going to be this distance right there. We know this height it's D. And so 1/3 of D is here. And above it will be 2/3 of D. So it's 2/3 of D. Then we're going to add C here, plus C. And it's at negative y-axis. So it will be negative 2/3 D plus C. All right, now let's look at the semicircle. The semicircle, our coordinate will be around here. And x coordinate will be going around there. X coordinate is going to be distance plus the radius, right, of the circle. And this is our x we calculated before, right here. So it's going to be x plus the radius. The radius of the circle is this diameter, 1 minus x divided by 2. Then it's at negative x coordinate, so that's going to be negative. Now let's look at y tilde. Y tilde is going to be this height, which is 4r over 3 pi, then plus d, then plus c. So it's a c plus d, then plus 4r. R is going to be y minus x divided by 2, 4r over 3 pi, all together at negative value. That's going to be our y tilde. Okay, so far, I think you get pretty much everything figured out. You can use it here to get delta A because you already know the dimension of all those shapes. And you also have x tilde and y tilde. The really good, easy way for solving this problem for the next step is go ahead, put everything in Excel. For example, A, I put my value there, A, B, C, 19, D will be 33, H is 35, for example. You have everything here, then you go ahead, say this is like area 1. You know area 1 is a rectangle, so you can write it down, rectangle, and a big triangle. Then you're gonna make sure you remember it's minus small triangle. Then here, oh, they don't take the minus, so go ahead and just write down then the last one is gonna be semicircle. Okay, so we have those 4 area right down here. Then the next thing I want to go ahead, it's going to be x tilde, right? I'm just going to write down like that, y tilde. Then next is area. So we know in order to do that, we have to figure out x and y first. So here I'm going to write down x and y. And x is going to be equal, starting address bar, it's going to be a times c. So a times c, then divided by c plus d plus h. So c plus d plus h, or you can use sum and enter. So we got our x. Then for y, it's going to be a, times c plus d then divided by C plus D plus H. So this time I can use this sum. Maybe not do that, because I might have to use equal. So this parenthesis plus 3 plus that equal. Then we got x and a y. Now we're going to put our x tilde here, which is using this table right here, right? Now let's see. Our x tilde will be b over 2. And y tilde is this negative value, negative c plus d plus h. Then divided by 2. Then our area of this rectangle is, I'm tired of writing down c plus d plus h because there's so many of them. Actually, I'm going to just do that. C plus d plus h. That's going to be equal to sum this, like that, together. So we have that. Okay, that will save us some time. So the area will be, is B the base, right? So I'm looking at the dimension here will be B times that value. Okay, so that's going to be our area. And then the big triangle is going to be negative a over 3. So start with equal sign, negative a over 3. Then this will be negative 2 over 3. Then times c plus d plus h, which is this value, equals that. Then our small triangle is going to be negative x plus y minus x, y, not y minus x, divided by 3, then parenthesis back, so we have that value. And this will be negative 2/3 of d plus c. Then we'll have value for that, y tilde. And for the semicircle, it's going to be negative x plus y minus x divided by 2. So we have that. For y tilde will be negative c plus d, then plus 2 times y minus x then divided by 3, then divided by pi again, pi. I need to have a closing parenthesis. Okay, so we have that. Then area of this big triangle, it's a for base, so it's going to be equal a times the height, it's that 87. Then this area, make sure it's going to be negative area because it's minus. It's y minus x, then times d. Then the semicircle is also negative. It's going to be negative pi r squared, and our r is going to be y minus x. And y minus x. So actually that's going to be our diameter. So cosine to pi d squared over 4 for the area, but this is a semicircle, then divide by 2. Okay, so I hope you see the logic. F3 minus F2, that's y minus x, which is the diameter of the circle. So pi d squared over 4, that's the circle area, then divide by 2, that's going to be the semicircle. So we have all that now. Then the next column, you want to do x tilde times the area. Then the next column will have y tilde times area. Then you can go ahead here, you can just go ahead and write down this times that area. Then I believe you can go ahead and drag it down. You can double check, click on that. Did you get a B8, which is x tilde, then times D8, which is area? So you're right. So next, for y tilde times area, you're going to use C7, right? So you can go ahead write on this times our area. Again, we can drag it down to propagate the remaining one. Then the last column is going to be sum. What do? We want to sum up all the areas. So go ahead and sum all here. Then you can propagate horizontal way, and that allow you to sum up those two columns. Then if everything is right, no guarantee, the centroid, what you are calculating, centroid, the x will be equal to what, and the y will be equal to what. So x will be summation of that divided by summation of area. So you got the answer for that. Then the y tilde, the y bar would be that divided by that area. So that's our answer for it. Now you can look at this problem, see if it's possible. So go look at this problem. Likely the centroid, if I were guessing, will be somewhere around maybe around there, right? So if you look at it, so this value B is 62, and this value said it's 13. Well, cannot be sure. You know, seems to be there, and look at y coordinate should be negative. So that's how we solve this problem. And really, in order to make it easy, Excel is a way to go, or some kind of programming. And in order to solve this right here, this radius or diameter or base of this triangle, I use the proportionality. If there's any other way, let me know, leave the comments. But this is what I just thought, that's my first thought. All right, so hopefully this will help you solving this problem on your WebWorks. See you next time. Bye.